Insert in.
What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to part 7 of checking out all of the Pac-Man ghosts in the history and lore of the Pac-Man series. If you've come to be spooked by the history of a bunch of ghosts, then you've come to the right place. The ghosts of Pac-Man are very historical because Pac-Man was like the first big mascot video game character, and as a series it gave us the first memorable video game villain, the ghosts of Pac-Man. Grab a Poltergeist 3000 or a ghost vacuum and let's head right into part 7. Number 1, Mesmeron. Mesmeron was the main villain in the 1980s Pac-Man cartoon. He's a human being who was the master of the Ghost Gang, and his main goal is to capture all of the power pellets and seize the power pellet forest, to capture the energy of the power pellets, to conquer all of Pac-Land. What's fascinating about Mesmeron is that he's a human being who's obsessed with the power pellets. What kind of power do the power pellets possess that would benefit Mesmeron? Because he's a human being. What this tells me is that the power pellets must have more of a power source that can affect other beings and give them power, even if they're not a pack or a ghost. He must have done some research about the power pellets before meeting the Ghost Gang, and he must have read stories and folklore and learned about the mysteries of the power pellets, and maybe he has all the knowledge of the pellets. He basically scolds and yells at the Ghost Gang and demands them to do his bidding, to get Pac-Man, get the power pellets, and they always fail and come right the hell back. So he's basically kind of like a crime boss. I would argue that his power is intimidation. He's kind of like Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. Speaking of Return of the Jedi, some people think that Mesmeron is kind of a knockoff of Darth Vader. Both Darth Vader and Mesmeron speak through an electronic filter, like right in front of their face, which is really cool that they both have that. Plus, and I know this is a spoiler, but at the end of Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader takes his mask off, and that was from 1983. And a lot of people think that Mesmeron was a knockoff of the way Darth Vader looks without his mask, but actually, Pac-Man cartoon first came out in 1982. So I find that fascinating. Mesmeron also bears a striking resemblance to Brainiac from the Super Friends cartoon, and both the Pac-Man cartoon and Super Friends were both cartoons of Hanna-Barbera. Mesmeron's colors of his outfit match the same as Brainiac's. His greenish kind of face, the red and black, the white collar, interesting. And I suppose if you watch episodes of the old Super Friends, I'm sure that you'll find all kinds of similarities between Brainiac and Mesmeron's personalities. Looking back at the Pac-Man cartoon, you can argue that Pac-Man is basically Superman. I mean, he has the superpower, and Brainiac would be Mesmeron.
Prepare to lose, Aquaman. Super Pac. No Pac person on Earth can stand up to him. He may have gotten away from that seahorse, but I'll set a trap that he'll never get out of. Excellent! Everything looks like it's falling into place.
Now, according to some fans, Mesmeron was also called a ghost wizard. From this title, we could probably infer that he does actually have some sort of strange powers that a wizard possesses, but we never get to see him use his powers on the show. He's basically like Giovanni in Pokemon, and the ghosts are like Team Rocket. He's very similar to the Ghost Witch of Nectar, and the Ghost Lord, and some of Betrayus, and Spooky from Pac-Man World 2. But Mesmeron was the original, and when they created the Ghost Witch of Nectar, she's basically a witch and a girl, and the original was just a guy and he's a wizard. It really would have been fascinating if we got to see Mesmeron in an actual Pac-Man video game. And wouldn't it be amazing if Mesmeron returned? You can make the game The Revenge of Mesmeron or something, and actually have him win for once, and then by the end of the game, Pac-Man finally defeats him again. That would be one of the biggest comebacks in, like, video game history, and Pac-Man history for that matter, other than the hopeful future return of Ms. Pac-Man, and Junior Pac-Man, and Spooky, and Glovis. I love Mesmeron, even though I've mentioned before in my other videos that a lot of the ghosts in the history of Pac-Man are very mysterious, but I think Mesmeron takes the cake. Just the fact that he's a human being, and he's obsessed with the power pellets, and commands the ghosts, without ever showing his powers, all this stuff makes him the most mysterious character in the entire history of Pac-Man, which makes him even cooler. Number 2, the Pac-Man World 2 ghosts. I've already mentioned them in a previous video, particularly the ghost with a shotgun, which the fans refer to as Hunter, or the Hunter Ghost. I also showed footage that I was able to find of the Devil Ghost from one of the later levels. But there were a couple of other ghosts in the game that I forgot about, or I couldn't find, but I found them. In the treetop levels, in particular the level Tree Wood Forest, there's a little green ghost that shoots darts at you. With a feather on top of his head and brown gloves, I'm just going to assume that he's supposed to be a Native American ghost, which is very cool. Plus the fact that he's in the tall tree levels, he's like a ghost that's protective of the giant trees and nature, and Pac-Man showing up out of nowhere is not good for him. He's as green as the grass and leaves. This ghost is one with nature. In one of the frozen levels was where I was able to discover this little light blue ghost that throws snowballs at you. He's got a purple hat, purple gloves, very cool, real distinctive. He might only be in this one level, but who knows. It's kind of fascinating because the particular ghosts you find in certain themed levels of the game throw some kind of weapon that's a theme of each level. And in this case, snowballs. Good thing the ghost has that hat on his head to keep himself warm, because it's pretty chilly out there, even for Pac-Man. And there's also this purple ghost in one of the water levels that shoots a harpoon gun at you. And he's got water goggles, pretty cool, but a lot of these ghosts you miss them because they appear so quickly, and sometimes they'll only appear in like 1 or 2 levels or something like that, so it's no wonder I missed them. I love the unique ghosts of Pac-Man World 2, one of the greatest video games of all time. Not just for Pac-Man, but of all time. One of the greatest platformers ever. But none of these ghosts have any names, so I'm going to give them their own names. And I'm going to be going with the tradition of the Y at the end of the name, or the E sound at the end of the ghost name for these ghosts, to keep it classic. The Red Devil Ghost from one of the final levels, I'm going to call him Fiery, since he throws fireballs at you. The ghost that throws snowballs at you, I'm going to call him Chili. The Green Ghost from the tree levels with the feather on his head, I'm going to call him TP. The purple ghost in the underwater levels with the goggles, I want to call him Harpoony. By the way, him using a harpoon gun to stun or hurt Pac-Man reminds me of the fight scenes in the James Bond movie Thunderball. Another thing to add about these unique ghosts in Pac-Man World 2 is that it seems like these ghosts live in these areas of Pac-Land, and Pac-Man's like invading their territory. So, I mean, it makes sense that they would attack him. But do they have an allegiance to Spooky like the Ghost Gang? I don't know. Maybe not, because it's not explained in the story. Maybe they just see Pac-Man, they know, they gotta go get him. Number 3, Master Goo. Master Goo is a Kung Fu ghost who is highly efficient in Pac Fu. He appears in the episode The Pac Be With You from Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Being highly skilled in the art of Pac Fu, he's easily able to trump and defeat Pac-Man and his friends. What's interesting is that they explain that Pac Fu used to be practiced during the time of the Great War, the Ghost Wars, that were mentioned in like the pilot episode that I also talked about in my video where I reviewed Lord Beerus' backstory. Pac Fu was basically practiced by the Pacs to, their form of karate basically, and then one of them started studying the art of dark, sinister version of Pac Fu, and later on he dies and becomes Master Goo as a ghost. Looking back on the episode, Master Goo is probably one of the coolest ghosts in the history of Pac-Man. Just like the Ghost Spectre, who only had one episode. It's a shame that these characters were underutilized and we only got to see them really one or two times, basically. Easily Master Goo could be a main villain in a Pac-Man game. I really wish that Pac-Man would have fought him in a video game. That would have been amazing. However, the most amazing part of this entire episode is when Circumference explains to Pac-Man that his parents used to practice Pac Fu. And we even get to see a picture of Pac-Man's mom and dad. And his mom definitely looks like Ms. Pac-Man. This is fascinating. It's Pac-Man's parents. What makes me wonder is that this photograph right here, is that the real Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man? Does that mean that the Pac-Man in Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, does that mean that he's the future generation of Pac-Man? That he's like Pac-Man's son of his son of his son? And then what about Pac-Man Jr.? Is Pac-Man from the Ghostly Adventures, is he Pac-Man Jr.? I mean, he says they're just his parents, not his great-great-great-great-grandparents or something. Master Goo often speaks in parables throughout the episode, and we've definitely seen this kind of karate master character in all kinds of pop culture stuff, like Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid, and other things. But it's cool to see a Pac-Man ghost version of that. Even though I think this is a good show, one of the faults I think it has is that it doesn't have storylines that continue from episode to episode. Each episode begins and ends with a single premise, which kind of sucks because it seems like something's really building up to being something really great, and then it's done. And sometimes we don't see this character again, or that character again, and it's just really annoying. Because there's so much potential here to do more with these characters and the storylines and shit like that. Number 4, Pep Pita. Pep Pita is a little yellow, weird ghost that appears in the DS game Pac-Pix. I would definitely argue he's one of the smallest looking ghosts. There's not much to say about him, but I can speculate on his personality. He interrupts the drawings that you can create as Pac-Man in the game. Does this mean that Pep Pita despises art, or despises art from Pacs? Does this mean that this is a ghost that hates art and is jealous of other people's talent or something like that? Based off his eyebrows and his expression on his face, he does seem like he's like really crazy and maybe psychopathic. I don't know. He also has the weirdest eyes of any ghost I've ever seen. Like the squiggles in his eyes, it's like, what's that all about? I suppose this character is supposed to be mysterious based on how the ghost looks and how they are so vague in what the character is supposed to be, other than just a ghost. But I really can't tell. Either way, he's kind of interesting. And number 5, Drill Bit Ghosts. They appear in the TV series, of course, Pac-Man and Ghostly Adventures. They got drills on top of their heads, and these drill bit ghosts remind me of Mr. Driller. That's a character I love that's an underrated game series. And Mr. Driller, for those of you who are uninitiated, he is the son of Dig Dug, who's also another Namco character. So Pac-Man and Dig Dug are part of the Namco family of characters, and so is Mr. Driller. So basically, are the drill bit ghosts inspired from Mr. Driller? Maybe. Their usage to Lord Betrayus in the episode to try to drill into the ghostly realms or whatever is that he must have thought, do the ghosts give drills extra power? Extra like ghostly power? Do you need drill bit ghosts to leave the ghost realm to another realm? Otherwise, a regular drill wouldn't work because it's not spiritual. It's not a spiritual power. Is it possible you would need a ghost drill to do such a thing? I don't know. The mysteries of the Netherworld are very vast, especially in the Netherworld version in Pac-Man. So I don't know. But these are all intriguing questions that we'll probably never get answers to, but it's still fun to think about now and then. Anyway, I hope you guys really like this video. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to keep making these videos for as long as you guys keep watching them. I love the Pac-Man ghosts. I'm not going to stop till it's done. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you real soon. Waka waka.